For 3 years now, the grantees of the Plow Foundation's Aging Initiative have been working to improve the lives of seniors in Memphis and Shelby County. Tonight, we examine the progress that has been made. And we'll answer your questions about estate planning. Funding for the Best Times is provided by the Plow Foundation, striving to do the greatest good by helping the greatest number of people since 1964. Additional funding is provided by the members of WKNO. Thank you. Hello, I'm Chris Hardaway. Welcome to this edition of The Best Times, a series that looks at life after 50. In 2014, the Plow Foundation focused its attention on issues affecting our aging population in Memphis and Shelby County, seeking grant proposals from organizations that could address these issues. One of their major areas of focus was elder abuse. The Plow grant has enabled the creation of a coordinated response team with the police, prosecutors, and social service agencies working together to stop elder abuse. The foundation also focused on aging in place initiatives designed to keep our older citizens in their homes for as long as possible. The Plow grants are producing aging in place specialists and helping qualifying citizens modify their homes to meet their aging needs. Through the No Hungry Senior Project, the Plow Foundation's grantees are identifying seniors who are food insecure and delivering them life-sustaining meals. In total, the Plow Foundation has awarded over $12 million in grants to nonprofit organizations, including WKNO and this program. Tonight, we update the progress of the Aging Initiative. To discuss the progress and the future of the Aging Initiative, I've invited two guests into the studio. Rick Masson is Executive Director of the Plow Foundation, and Dr. John Feather is Chief Executive Officer of Grantmakers in Aging. Back in 2015, the Plow Foundation had been investigating and began the Aging Initiative. It began as a 3-year grant program. Right. Now we find ourselves at the end of that 3-year period. So where does the Aging Initiative stand right now?
Well, I think number one, we've accomplished a lot. And what we hope that we can build on what we've accomplished. We hope we can find other entities locally, nationally, to join us in this effort. We want to continue with our efforts in aging, but at a much smaller, lower amount of money. We can't continue to fund it at the level that we've been funding it, but I'm sure we will be a part of this. As it turns out, we will probably have another year at least for a lot of reasons. One was that the agencies we were dealing with were able to stretch their dollars. They were very fiscally responsible, and they were able to stretch their dollars. We were able to work out some other alternative funding in terms of other grant-funded activities. Did you
also find that the problem was more complex, perhaps?
Absolutely. The problem is very complex, whether it's aging in place. The housing stock in Shelby County, as you know, is old, and many neighborhoods are somewhat dilapidated. Our partner in this, Habitat for Humanity, when they came into it, thought, let's put up grab bars, let's put up ramps. What they found out was you put a grab bar on a wall that's rotting because the roof has been leaking for a year or 2 years. That doesn't make much sense. You have to replace the roof.
John, I want to bring you in because First of all, Grantmakers in Aging. Exactly what is the mission of Grantmakers in Aging?
Well, the mission of Grantmakers in Aging is to draw together organizations, primarily foundations, that work on aging issues and provide charitable and philanthropic support for those efforts throughout the country. So we're an association of foundations primarily, but also corporate giving programs that work on aging issues. And we do that through education and a variety of other mechanisms.
There is an announcement, I know, that is coming out. What's going to be happening?
Well, what we wanted to do was to have sort of a capstone to our effort. Our purpose for having a capstone would be to enlighten local foundations, the local community, and the national foundations and the national community on what's happening to help seniors here in Memphis and Shelby County. And so with some discussion, and one of our staff members is on the board of Grantmakers in Aging, we determined that there's a conference, an annual conference held each year where foundations across the country attend. And we spoke with John, and John was receptive. He wanted to have this conference. I'll let him talk about his reason for wanting to be in Memphis, but we approached them about having that conference next October in Memphis, Tennessee. There'll be 200, 250 people from foundations across the country that will be attending the conference, and we are really excited about having John here, and I'll let John talk a little bit more about the conference.
Right. Why Memphis? Why Memphis?
Well, we haven't been in the South other than Florida, and I've heard from some of my Tennessee friends that doesn't really count. So,
right.
we haven't been in the South in almost 30 years. For our conference. And we don't have a large group of philanthropic organizations that support aging here. And we're trying to build up that group and trying to look at how we can work together more collaboratively in this region to support aging. As well as the fact that the Plow Foundation and other foundations here locally are supporting us to have the conference here. And it just is a great city to have a conference. So we're looking forward to being here.
What is your overall impression of the Aging Initiative, Plow's Aging Initiative?
Well, it's been a wonderful thing. We've actually followed it closely since the beginning. We actually had one of our national webinars around the work with Habitat for Humanity, because that was really innovative at the beginning of that process, because, of course, Habitat's model of how you help people have decent housing is very different than this model. So their model is basically you start and you build a new house, you have Jimmy Carter come and help you, and you're able to, then offer it at a lower price and lower mortgage to a family that's in need. This is a very different model than that. And what they found was, when they started looking, that over a third of the work they were already doing was really around helping older people remain in their homes by doing home repair work. That's a very different model than building a house from scratch. And so it's been a very innovative model. A lot of Habitat for Humanity groups have looked at it across the country. We've also been very engaged around the elder abuse and elder neglect areas. And that's an area that we're going to continue to work in a lot with Plow and other organizations around the country, because it's something that we don't like to talk about, we don't like to think about, and we don't know exactly what to do with. And so I think we're going to be involved, along with the Plow Foundation and many others, including some national organizations that are really trying to focus on how do we do this better.
Rick, I want to talk about what you feel the achievements have been of this Aging Initiative. Let's take three of the big initiatives. Let's start with elder abuse. What do you feel has been achieved?
Well, I mean, first off, over 500 individuals have come through and have reached their goal, been served through Coordinated Response to Elder Abuse, CREA is what we call it. The big picture, the sustainability, as you might think, has to do with a law that was passed last year by the Tennessee legislature, which was called the Vulnerable Adult Protective Investigative Team. It's a mouthful. VAPIT. That was passed, and it requires in every district attorney across the state to form a team to focus efforts on addressing elder abuse and prosecuting those who commit elder abuse. that was a game changer. The other thing, and it's kind of a variation of the VAPID, and that is the collaboration. All of our initiatives involved collaborative efforts from a lot of nonprofits that came to the table. Some hadn't worked together or didn't even know each other. We have bridged those gaps in between agencies, and so now there are organizations, not-for-profit, public entities that are talking that weren't talking before. So we feel that going forward, they're going to continue. They know each other. They're going to continue to work together, and so we feel like that's an enduring legacy.
What about the No Hungry Senior Project? MIFA is the lead agency on that. How effective do you feel that program has been in dealing with food insecurity? Again,
hundreds of thousands of meals were delivered, so that in itself has been good to a number of seniors in this town who are in desperate need of it, and many of them just recently left the hospital. MIFA and the team, again, it was a collaborative effort with a lot of members, including Methodist Hospital, and they have been working with the insurance companies and with some of the evaluators on the project. All of our projects, we actually requested that the lead agency hire an evaluator as well. And they've been working with those evaluators and the insurance company to demonstrate that if a senior is released from the hospital after an operation, that if they have someone that comes by the house and gives them a meal, that there's less likelihood that they're going to go back to that hospital, which means less likelihood there's going to be a charge against that insurance company. To the effect that maybe, just maybe, we can get these insurance companies to think about trying to fund some of these initiatives as it relates to No Hungry Senior and MIFA. The service that MIFA does and the volunteer hours that they provide to our community is substantial, and they've been doing it long before we became involved in this. But again, the collaboration that exists in this No Hungry Senior effort, I think, is longstanding.
And aging in place, we talked a little bit about that, but how do you feel? Habitat was the lead agency on that. What have you achieved there?
Well, again, well over 300 houses, seniors' homes had been rehabilitated. I think the change there, again, is a systematic change, and that Habitat now had a model that John spoke of, which was pretty much focused on first-time home owners. Now they're looking at seniors and rehabilitating senior homes. They've recently applied for a grant, a statewide grant that involves all the Habitat agencies across the state of Tennessee. So they have sort of changed the focus, changed the conversation for those Habitat entities across Tennessee to look at senior rehabilitation of homes and to see if there's a place for Habitat in there. So we feel like they've changed their focus a little bit, their mission, their vision, and I think that is a game changer from our perspective.
Now, of course, the key to success in the future with any of these programs that you've been involved in is sustainability. Mm-hmm. Where do these programs stand in terms of sustainability?
They are all working hard on trying to find additional funders, and some have been successful and some have not been quite as successful. Habitat has been very successful in finding home loan grants. Again, I mentioned they applied for a statewide grant, and hopefully, cross their fingers, hopefully they'll get that grant. They've been very aggressive and relatively successful in finding funds. They have a network of volunteers that's amazing. MIFA, I think, again, getting back to the network of volunteers, they are amazing as well. I think the key there will be trying to get these insurance companies to see the benefit of what they're doing. And then with elder abuse, I think we have a network in place now where, regardless of the funding, there will be a group of public officials and nonprofit officials focused on addressing elder abuse in this community. And to us, that's sustainable in and of itself.
You mentioned governments, and I'll ask both of you, what role should governments, local, national, statewide governments, what role should they play in programs like these?
Number one, I think they can be a facilitator. I think they can bring people to the table as well as anyone. when the mayor speaks, people are going to come to the meeting. And then in terms of just awareness and making people aware of this and changing the conversation to make our community a safer and better place for our seniors, and trying to understand the needs of our seniors. I think sometimes we don't focus our policy and our decisions on that need because there's so many other issues that reach up and grab us. And I think as a community, we need to start thinking about what those needs are, because it's going to overwhelm us if we don't, because there are so many seniors growing every day. I mean, you heard the national number, 10,000 yes. a day or whatever it is, becomes a senior. And so that is going to overwhelm us. And so I think the initiative of government is to start making their decisions with an eye towards what those seniors' needs are.
Well, let's talk about the big picture, because we do know that our population by 2030, 20% of our population will be over age 65, and that's a demographic shift we've never experienced in this country. So what will the future look like? What are the issues that we face that perhaps we're not addressing right now that we need to address?
Well, I think the first thing is that we have to think of this as a tremendously positive thing, that basically more people are going to be above the age 65 in the next 20 years and alive at that time than have been above the age of 65 in the rest of human history, which is really a staggering amount, thing to think about. That's a very positive thing. The issue for us and the challenge is, what are we doing with those extra years? How do we make sure that people live successfully in the community and are able to contribute to the community long after they retire, if that's what they're doing in their work life, and not feel like older people are inevitably a drain on the community, which is still the stereotype about older people. So we have to work hard to make sure that we incorporate older people and make it possible for them to live successfully in the community. I think in terms of the specific issues that we need, all of the things that we've been talking about are really part of this larger whole. So issues like transportation, housing, healthcare are not separate things. They're all interrelated. If you can't get to the doctor's office or the hospital, it doesn't matter whether you have the best medical care in the world. And I think this is a place where government really has a unique role, because it not only sets the bar in terms of what the safety net is, but it also provides that leadership in terms of how are we going to treat our fellow citizens, how are we going to interact.
I want to close out by talking about vision. And I'll ask you, what is the Plough Foundation's vision out into the future of the older population in Memphis and Shelby County?
Well, I think John kind of talked about it, and it's written into our Constitution: life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. I think we have to have a place where people can live, older folks can live and comfortably, safely. I think they can pursue whatever desires they have to fulfill their life at that stage in their life. I think they should if they choose to live at home, they should be able to live at home. There should be accommodations that either they have access to through their own, or information that they can be provided either by government or other sources that can help them address their needs so that they can stay at home if that's what they wish to do. If they want to participate actively in society, either through work or through volunteer work, I think that's important for us to make sure as a community that we have that accessible resources there for them. So I think they should be engaged, and I think they should be provided with we should have a society that does fulfill that promise that's in our Constitution.
And John, at Grantmakers in Aging, what is the vision for the future of aging in America?
The vision for aging in America is really that we are aging. And so it's not an us and them, as we often talk about it. It really is that we are all in this process. I'm an official old person now by the U.S. government standards. But the thing is that for all of us, it's a process that we are going through. We're all engaged with this with our families and with other people in our community, whether we ourselves are older or not. And we have to think about how do all these pieces fit together. We have parts of our society that would like to pit older people particularly programs for older people, against those for children, that's a disastrous thing for us to do as a society. We have to work together to make sure that people can thrive at any age from childhood on.
Well, John and Rick, thank you very much for being on The Best Times.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Do you have a will? What's the difference between a will and a living trust? And why should you appoint a power of attorney? These are just some of the elements of estate planning, a process that provides for the succession of your property according to your wishes. And it's not so much about the value of your property as it is about the value your property has to you and your heirs. What is estate planning?
Well, estate planning is a process by which a person plans for incapacity or death. So a person is determining who will make decisions for them if they can't make decisions for themselves. And a person is making a decision as to who will receive their assets upon their death. The common estate planning documents are a last will and testament, a financial power of attorney, a health care power of attorney, and a living will.
What are the advantages of having an estate plan?
There's 4 basic advantages of estate planning. One is that it helps save on any estate or death taxes. Number 2, it helps avoid the cost and time delay of probate. And then a third advantage is the fact that it ensures that the people you want to receive your assets actually receive your assets. And then the fourth advantage is it reduces the chance for conflict or dispute when you pass away.
Is estate planning only for the wealthy?
The short answer is no, because if a person has an excess of $50,000, which is the minimum probate amount, then you probably need an estate plan. But in general, from a practical standpoint, probably estate planning is more beneficial to the wealthy.
What happens if I die without a will?
If you die without a will, then the cost of dying increases. There's bond premiums, inventory cost, appraisal fees, accountings, and also the time delay increases. Also, if you die without a will, then the state determines who receives your assets and who the executor of your estate is.
What is a living trust?
Well, a living trust is an alternative to a last will and testament. It is a trust. You have a trustee and you have a beneficiary. However, the difference is, number 1, it's revocable, which means you can change it any time. And number 2 is that you are the trustee and you are the beneficiary, so you're in total control over the assets. And the primary purpose of a living trust is to avoid probate at death.
What is a power of attorney?
First, you have a power of attorney for finance. That power of attorney allows someone to make decisions for you regarding your finances, pay your bills, collect your income, manage your assets. And then most people also have a separate power of attorney for health care or personal care decision making. Allows someone to make medical decisions for you and also allows someone to make personal care decisions for you, such as if you have to go to rehab or go to a long-term care facility. Well, a durable power of attorney basically continues to be effective upon your incapacity, whereas a non-durable power of attorney ceases to be effective when you become incapacitated. An example of a non-durable power of attorney, let's say you're going on vacation and you need to sell your house while you're out of town, you would grant someone a non-durable power of attorney to handle things for you while you're out of town.
How much does an estate plan cost?
Most lawyers either charge a fixed fee for estate planning or they charge by the hour. If you're looking for a lawyer to do your estate planning, you need to ask the lawyer, how do you charge? I think most clients prefer fixed fees. That way they know it's a known quantity, they know what the amount is. But generally your estate planning fees are going to vary based on the size of your estate and the complexity of the estate plan that you need.
Can I do it myself?
The issue with DIY estate planning is that the forms are normally legal, they're valid, But all those forms have blanks. And the real question is, what do you put in the blanks? And that's what you pay the lawyer for, to know what answers to put in the blanks.
For a good overview and advice on estate planning, go to the website of AARP or contact an attorney. Want more information about life after 50? Go online to watch more shows and find more resources. And send us your feedback and story ideas to besttimes@wkno.org. That's all for this edition of The Best Times. Please join us next week for more stories about life after 50. Until then, I'm Chris Hardaway. Thanks for watching. Good night. Funding for The Best Times is provided by the Plough Foundation, striving to do the greatest good by helping the greatest number of people since 1964. Additional funding is provided by the members of WKNO. Thank you.